Hello folks, Brad Arrington down here on Jennifer B, my Back Cove 37. I'm doing some winterization and getting ready to take care of my freshwater system for the season. So I thought it would be nice to show folks the general layout of the water system on the Back Cove 37 and what I do to winterize it. So let's dive in. So the place I always start when I'm winterizing my water system is down in the engine room where the water tanks are. So the general arrangement of the Back Cove 37 is there are two tanks, a port side tank and a starboard side tank. And if we look here in the front of the engine space, we can see that the water lines come from the back of the tank. There's a shutoff valve for one there. There's a second shutoff valve for the other tank there. And in my boat, they go straight through the bulkhead there into the mechanical space. Now you may notice that, as I said before, that the water goes through the bulkhead there into the mechanical space under the galley. In some boats, there is a water filter in this area. Mine is under the galley. But the configuration did change a little bit over time, so your boat might be a little bit different. And then there is a drain right there. So what I do is I drain all the water out as much as possible from the tanks using the water pump. And then I come and turn that valve there to drain any excess water into the sump, and that gets pumped overboard. And then once that's done, we can start the blowing out process that I use. Okay, so the next thing I'll show you is the setup I use to winterize the water system. So a lot of folks use this stuff in their water system. I happen to not like it because it A, costs money, B, it leaves, in my experience, a nasty taste in the water lines. And since I use my water on the boat a lot, I really don't like that. And with a big hot water tank like I have, it would take an awful lot of gallons to use this stuff. So instead, I use my handy dandy air compressor. This is a compressor that I've used for lots of projects. It's like a 10 or 15 gallon air compressor. So I set that pressure to about, what's it, 20 now. I set it to about 35 to 40 pounds of air pressure. And then I use the dockside water inlet fitting here. And then I have this attachment here that screws into the fitting. And then this simply chucks into the end. There you go, it's nice and tight. And then I have a valve, I can turn this on and off. And what that lets me do is go around to each of the water faucets and outlets and turn them on sequentially and blow out all the water. And then this goes directly into the water system and blows everything out. So let's get started on doing that. Now this is where you're going to find the mechanicals for your water system. So if we take a peek in this mechanical space here, we can see our hot water tank. We should be able to see in there, let me see what I can do here. So the water line's coming in there, and then back here, right there, is our water filter. Now what we're going to want to do is take that off and empty out the water before we start blowing things out. And then that, let's see, back there, right there, that guy is our fresh water pump. So I am going to have to disconnect a line there to get any residual water out of there. But then that's kind of it. So I'm going to dive down in there and remove that that water canister to dump that water out. Yeah, so just a little bit more detail on the water pump here. When I'm in here, you can see that braided line comes in. That's the supply line through the bulkhead. And the reason this is a braided line is that the manufacturer of the pump says you should use a flexible lines to prevent transmission of vibration to the boat. So we have that there, and then to the filter here as well, which I'm going to take off now. The first thing you want to do when you take that off is look for that little red button at the top there. That's going to relieve the pressure on the system, and then we're going to take this canister off, and let's see if I can set things up to record that. Okay, so welcome back to the mechanical space. I've got myself kind of wedged in here. I am not a small guy, so this is not a tremendous amount of fun. But I got this set up for you guys, so we're going to press this button up here, and we can hear that the water pressure has released. We got a little bit of backflow there. And then these are usually a little bit tight. I don't think I can get it off by hand. And I don't want to break this mount. So what I'm going to do is use this handy dandy strap wrench and help ourselves out a little bit. And hold that and give it a twist. And there we go. So I'm going to just take that off and then get some water out. That's just going to go in the bilge, no big deal. And then that pops up. And we can check our element. Let's see. Just dump that excess water in the bilge there. We can look at our element. Well, it actually looks pretty good. I might be able to save that and use that again next year. But I have a spare just in case. And then we're going to put this canister back on and just screw it on. Let's see. There we go. Sometimes the threads are a little bit difficult to line up and engage. There we go. And we don't need to tighten this up too much. We'll just hand tighten it so that when we come back in spring and put a new filter element in there, it's all ready for us. And then after I get this done, I'm going to come back and take off some of these hoses to make sure that we don't have any water residual in there. And now we're going to start blowing out the each line sequentially. Okay. Now we're here in the galley, and as you can see, I'm in full winterization mode because things are a mess. But we're just going to turn on the faucet there, and we're going to let each faucet open so there's basically no more water coming out. Not very exciting, but then we're going to do the same thing for the hot water too. This is going to take a bit longer because there's still quite a bit of water in the hot water tank. Turn that off for a second. And then we're going to have to go back down in here and I'll show you what I do to get the rest of the water out of the hot water tank. So we're just going to go around to each of these and let everything drain out in order. Now I'm down in the head, and you may be able to hear my compressor humming in the background because that's kicked on. So I've done that one. We'll do the shower next. Just going to take that off so I don't spray myself. how much coming out of there because I already did the sink and they're on a common line. A little bit there. Most of the air at this point. Come back there, make sure there's nothing else coming out of there. And hang up our little guy there. And then just pick this up. And then next up we have the head. So we're just going to do a little. Oh, I gotta turn this on over here. So we've got. It's like really no more water coming out of there. So the fresh water lines should be done. And then I'm going to come back with some of that pink antifreeze, put the pink antifreeze in there and flush it so we have protection both for the bowl and for the holding tank as well. Okay, now we're in the cockpit and we have to take care of the shower here. Lots of folks forget about this one. So we'll turn that on, do the same thing. Get that extra water out of there. Let's see, change this to make sure we're on cold. Turn it the other way. Get that extra water out of there too. And you're going to want to let this run until you're really not getting any more water in here. So I'm not going to record this whole thing here, but this is still too much water coming out. I think this is on the hot side, so I still have to take care of the hot water tank to make sure that we get all the residual out of there. And then I'm going to come back and do these hot water lines again. But let's see, when we let it sit a bit, and then the pressure builds up. And that should be good enough for protection for winterization. Now we're back in the mechanical space where the water pump is. And again, this is the hot water tank. And on some boats I have put on bypass hoses to cross over the hot water and the cold water to bypass the tank. I haven't done that on this boat because this boat also has a right here is this is your overpressure valve. So in the event that there's too much pressure in the tank here, this valve will open and dump the water overboard. But this hose here loops around and then comes out over the side of the boat over here. So I was a little worried about that freezing. So instead of installing a crossover, which I had actually purchased, I just open up this valve here, and this is going to dump all the water out with the pressure from the compressor, and then also blow air out of this hose as well. So this seems to me like a pretty easy way to take care of the hot water tank. And then once I get this water out, I'm going to come back and open up all of the hot water fixtures on the boat as well to make sure that they're all blown out. So let's see, we'll go ahead and open this. And you can hear the water coming out there. And let's see, we'll just go around to the side of the boat here. And we can see all that water getting flushed out the side of the boat. So that'll take care of our hot water tank. Okay, we're almost done winterizing the water system. Just a couple more things left. One important one that sometimes might be overlooked or people are confused how to do is your washer system for your wipers. So these systems on most of our boats are powered by, supplied by our fresh water system. So with our air in there, all we need to do is turn that on, and there we go. We got our wiper going, that's spraying, and might be a little bit hard to see, but we're getting some, the water's out of there, and we're just getting air. I can hear a little bit of that compressed air hiss. And there we go, we're all good. Wiper system is winterized. All right, now we're up in the anchor locker. We don't want to forget about our freshwater wash down, so we're going to take care of that. Sometimes this does get forgotten or overlooked. I've been guilty of that and had to come down in some colder weather when I panicked and forgot that I hadn't blown this out. So you do want to make sure that you blow this guy out too. And then my boat also has a raw water wash down. So if you have a raw water system, you're going to have to disconnect that line from the pump in the mechanical space and blow that out, or get some pink antifreeze in there. I blew this out last year and haven't used it since, so I don't need to do that. I don't like using my raw water wash down simply because it gets the boat dirty, and then I have to worry about blowing it out at the end of the season, which is a little bit difficult. So that should be it for all of our fixtures, and then we just have to go make sure we have all the water out of our pump. All right, I'm back down in the mechanical room, and I'm taking care of draining the water out of the pump. So the pump has these fittings on here, which are pretty easy to unscrew. So we just do that, empty the water out of the line there, and then I'll do the same thing for the one back here, and then we should be good to go.